Hello again and welcome from the deep into another episode of The Graveyard Shift with me, Book of Brett. I am fresh off of a new movie that has probably been one of the most anticipated movies in many years, in no small part to the sheer amount of marketing that they put into this movie, and that is 2023's Oppenheimer. Now, the simplest synopsis that I can have for this movie, this is an Oppenheimer biopic, or biopic if you want to be a douche about it.
He was also a douchebag.
This is about Oppenheimer before the Manhattan Project, during the Manhattan Project, and after the Manhattan Project. Now, it would appear IMDb is taking the lazy route just like I just did. This is my first time looking at their synopsis, but all it says is the story of American scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer and his role in the development of the atomic bomb. Now, that is a pretty good synopsis of the majority of what this movie is, but what this movie is also about is kind of along the lines of what I've always said about war movies, which is every war movie is an anti-war movie if you're not a f***ing asshole.
You're not the run-of-the-mill kind of asshole, are you, Jimmy?
We get a lot of his regrets. We get a lot of the side of Robert Oppenheimer, or J. Robert Oppenheimer, that I don't think a lot of us are taught in the history books. I know that when I was growing up and I was being taught about World War II and the atomic bomb, as is traditional in American classrooms, we kind of go for the really exciting parts. The government very much vilified him kind of behind the curtains while putting this story of like an American hero out in the forefront. We're not really going to get into that too much because I could go on and on and on about the US government using people and then throwing them to the side.
She may be a communist.
But really what I do want to drive home is that this really needs to be viewed from a sympathetic view for Oppenheimer, because that's really how it's put out there. Now, of course, we get phenomenal performances from the likes of Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt, Rami Malek, an all-star cast in this movie. That's just like scratching the surface of the people in this movie. I do have to say Cillian Murphy is one of those actors that when I go into it and I know he's in it, I know I'm going to enjoy it one way or the other. And he does not disappoint as Oppenheimer in here. He made me feel for Oppenheimer. Even though I have this huge objection to what came out of his brilliant mind, there's a whole slew of arguments to be had there. Was it good to drop it? Was it not good to drop it? And this movie does make you question that. It does bring it up, but it does such a good job of not completely skirting around that issue or that question, but making sure to focus on it from Oppenheimer's perspective. The first act to me did feel very disjointed. It almost felt like we were rushing from moment to moment through his early life before the Manhattan Project. So as much as this is about him before the Manhattan Project, this is very much focused on during and after. I just realized I forgot to say Matt Damon, so obviously Matt Damon. I was a little leery going in at the very beginning. As I said, it's a little bit disjointed. But once this movie really gets its grips into the tracks, it sticks and it keeps going. Now, one thing I do want to touch on is the whole IMAX thing. I did not go see this in IMAX. I know Christopher Nolan is like, it was shot on IMAX cameras. You have to go see it in IMAX. I'll leave that to you to decide. However, I don't think that a good movie is necessarily the format that it comes in. There are plenty of movies that I still watch in VHS that I enjoy. Now, will it enhance the viewing experience? Yeah, probably. Does that change the quality of the story? Absolutely not. Either you have a good movie or you have a bad movie, and this is a good movie.
Is it good for you?
I've had better.
I'm not going to go too much more into it than that. I do want everybody to go see this movie. It is a phenomenal viewing experience. It is beautiful. We do get, it does still feel like a Christopher Nolan movie And that's what always seems to amaze me about Christopher Nolan, is because when we do get these blockbuster directors, they so often fall into the trap of appealing to the audience and making everything flash and make everything as exciting as possible at the expense of artistry. I'm going to give Oppenheimer an 8 out of 10. It does have its bumps here along the way, but as I said, once it gets going, this motherfucker takes you for a ride. Go see Oppenheimer. You don't have to get an IMAX ticket. The only IMAX ticket I could find was in the front 2 rows at an IMAX theater. And if the front 2 rows are bad at a regular theater, I can only imagine the nightmare-inducing experience that you are going to have in the first 2 rows of an IMAX theater. I'm absolutely going to go see it in IMAX, and you should go see it in any format you can find it in. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for me. If you have seen Oppenheimer already, put it down in the comments. If you're looking forward to it, if you're a little reluctant about it, or if you just want to give me some ideas, leave them down in the comments. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up, and if you like the content we're putting out on the channel, hit the subscribe button. But until then, I will see you guys next time.